Hi, Melissa. Welcome to the Modern People Leader. How are you doing?
I'm doing well. Thanks for having me.
Excellent, excellent. Well, it sounds like it's been a pretty crazy week in Chicago. You mentioned just before we started that there's been what, a tornado and a heat wave and massive humidity. Is
Yes,
that
all
right?
together, in the same week. It was crazy.
That sounds like just an everyday week for us here in Texas. So, well, I'm glad we were able to do this with all the craziness you've had over there. We love to kick off we have a lot of rituals with the Modern People Leader. One of our rituals is how we start our conversation, which is a good news story. This is where we share a personal or work related story from the past week or two. We just like to show a little bit of gratitude and start the conversation off in a feel good kind of way. So who wants to kick us off today?
Very good. I can, start sharing. Last week we had our top 40 global leaders for an offsite meeting in Chicago. And it was so beautiful to see, the whiteboarding, the collaboration, all those beautiful minds discussing the future together. All companies, they have been discussing for a long time the future of work, if it will be hybrid, fully in person, fully remote. That for me was a confirmation that the hybrid model is here to stay, and collaboration is a key element for strategy, disruption, innovation. Seeing the excitement of those leaders talking about new products or how to better serve our consumers was really exciting. Two of them got so fired up discussing a specific project that they looked like kids in a big store, in a big toy store. I loved every second of the week.
Oh, that is good news. I feel the energy just hearing you talk about it. And so that's we hybrid. We've talked a lot about this the question of what does the future look like. So I'm excited about asking you a little more about what you guys are doing in terms of your future of work. I'll go next. My good news is work related. Usually I do personal related good news, but we have a major product initiative underway, a new product launch, in fact, and we it's still fairly early in the effort, and we got our first wave of creatives from the agency we're working with for all the software mockups, and there's just something exciting about getting your creatives when you're working in a software project, and I'm a big believer in design and the look and feel, and so they look great. So that's my good news this week.
Congratulations. Happy for you.
Thank you. Thank
All
you.
right, guys. Well, I'm going on a personal note. So, Tori, my wife, she gets these anniversary gifts from her company, and she just was eligible. So, I guess her 5-year anniversary was like a week or two ago, and they sent her a link to this portal where she could get a gift up to like a certain amount. And one of the gifts that was on there was a bike desk. I don't know if y'all have ever seen these, but
Yes.
it's literally like a stationary bike with a desk on it. And we're doing a fitness competition at work. And I'm like ready to crush my coworkers because now this is gonna be my secret weapon. I can just sit on this desk bike all day. So that's my good news.
Uh,
I swear your wife has, like, didn't you just get a
A Traeger.
smoker?
Yeah.
Yeah.
They're hooking it up for her.
Yeah, they know the total rewards. I like their strategy.
Yeah.
So, well, Melissa, you have an absolutely impressive resume. Usually, we list off all the great things. There's a lot of great things that it would be great to hear you to walk us through your career journey. What's your story? How did you become the global chief people officer at Kraft Heinz?
uh, at this point, you already know that I am Kraft Heinz AVP, Global Chief People Officer. Therefore, I'll talk a little bit about me beyond my title. Okay.
Great.
First, you will realize from my accent that I'm not a native English speaker. I'm originally from Brazil, and I have been living in the United States for 9 years. And I have to confess one thing. Working in human resources was not part of my original plan. I'm a chemical engineer who discovered myself working at the people function. I came to it as an assignment, and I fell madly in love with the function. HR was not planned, but it became my life choice. And here I am today after going through acquisition, mergers, a pandemic, and now a war. All those big learning moments for me. Our company purpose is let's make life delicious. And I'm here to make our 36,000 employees' lives delicious. So that's me.
Wow, I love it. I love it. And so I just want to, I have to dig into that because, well, you stole one of my next questions, which is of course, we do a lot of research on LinkedIn before we have these conversations. And I did notice that the early segment of your career was all Brazil. And so my next question was going to be, how did you get from Brazil to the US? But now we know, how did you pivot from a career in chemical engineering to human resources? Can you tell us a little bit about how that was there an event? Was it an acquisition? Like, how did that actually happen?
I think it was a crazy chief people officer that saw something in me, and offered me this assignment in HR, and I declined in the first moment, and then he put me in a conference room again, and we had a conversation, and he said, let me explain to you why I think this assignment is important for you. And his rationale made a lot of sense to me, and I said, look, and it was a promotion. I said, you know what, I'll try. If I don't like, I just move, to my next assignment in a different function. And that happened, oh my God, now I will tell my age, but 20 plus years ago. And I'm here today, and that's the function that I love. That is the function that, I wake up every morning excited to deal with the good and the bad, the ups and downs, the problems and the projects. And everybody asks me, but HR and chemical engineer, they are not related at all. I disagree, and they are somehow related. And the reason that I chose chemical engineering is very similar to why I love the people function. And there is one word that describes it, that is transformation, So in chemical engineering, from a raw material to a final product. In HR, from a junior talent, a rough diamond to a jewel, that's my passion. That is my mission in life.
It's so interesting. I feel like we've heard a very similar story so many times on this show. I was trying to run through my memory and remember some of the guests, but people like Dina Upton from Drift, she started her career as a software engineer. Katie Burke from HubSpot, she started in marketing and made the internal move at HubSpot from marketing to HR. I think one of our early guests, April Joyce Galda, she moved from operations to HR. So, and I feel like all of these leaders that we've talked to that came from different backgrounds, they always have the most interesting perspectives. So we're excited to learn more about your career and some of the work that you're doing at Kraft Heinz.
Also, I want to give a shout out to the leaders that took a risk on us, because my story, Melissa, is similar. That I had a leader, a managing director at an investment bank that I was a consultant for, and we shared a cab from the London office to Heathrow, and we just had a conversation in this cab. I'd probably not spoken more than 3 or 4 words to this individual, and when we got to Heathrow, he was like, would you be interested in working at the firm? And, it's that kind of moment, the individuals that see something that sometimes we don't even see, and they take a risk on us. And so it sounds like that was pretty transformative in your career, and it was for me as well. So kudos to those leaders that are taking a risk on the future people leaders.
100% agree, and this person is my mentor, my friend until today, and they deserve a round of applause.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, one of the questions we like to ask is what is it like to be an employee at Kraft Heinz, and why should we be jealous that you get to work there?
Oh my God, because we are amazing. Let me double click on that. Uh, Look, we are committed to creating a truly meritocratic environment, where the ownership spirit, future ambition, and agility, they are encouraged and rewarded. We are very passionate about growing people into their best selves by giving them unique opportunities to learn and grow as individuals. Not only growing, I'm not talking about promotion, I'm talking about being a best version of themselves, learning and interacting with people that they admire and are very vetted to help them in their career journey. We truly live our values, and there's one value that talks a lot to my heart. I love all the six, but one of them is we champion great people, and that's one that we live by it every day. We are a place that everyone can be themselves, accepted the way they are. We value different voices. We encourage people to speak up, and we are very down to earth. You know, we don't have planes, we don't have individual rooms, we don't have individual assistants, we don't have closed doors. Employees, they are appreciated for their authentic and unique contributions, regardless of hierarchy. Everyone is welcome at our table. An example of it happened last week. I was sharing with you the offsite in the beginning, and the senior leadership team of the company, we had a breakfast with our trainees. And one of them shared an idea with the CEO. And after that, the CEO put all of us in the room and it became a project,
Wow.
Came from this interaction and a breakfast here, informal breakfast with our trainees. I think that's fascinating.
Yeah, the ability, and I noticed you said it twice, the ability to bring the best version of yourself to work. And I think the second thing you mentioned was that everyone is accepted the way they are. That's such a powerful thing. And I think it was Mita Malik who we had on the show, and she started by saying, like, she believes that everyone should feel like they belong in their jobs. We spend so much time, with our colleagues, with the people we work with. In many instances, we spend more time with our colleagues than we do with our loved ones. Now, that's probably balanced a little more with hybrid working, but the ability to, like, truly feel comfortable being yourself, I think, is just such a powerful thing. And I love that, that's immediately what you went to. I do have one follow-up question. Kraft Heinz. So what are the snacks like? Surely there are a lot of snacks involved also.
Oh my God, they are amazing. But I'll tell you what is more exciting than the snacks, knowing about innovation before the consumers know. And my son participated on a tasting, for a kids project with the research and development group, and he was so excited that he was trying that. And he wanted to go to the school in the following day and tell all his friends at school that he was trying the new innovation. And I told him, no, you cannot. It's confidential. You cannot share that. Oh, beyond the products and the things that we have available for us at the office, I would say that doing all the innovation tastings for me is the part of the job that I like
well,
the most.
In all seriousness, if you need adults to volunteer for the innovation lab, you've got at least one here. So
I will invite you.
I'm in as well, so you can count me in too.
Unfortunately, I cannot share with you all what we have been doing, but it's exciting.
Well, I'm excited to see what y'all come up with. So, in preparation for this podcast, I was listening to some of the other episodes that you've been on with other podcasts, and I can just hear the passion in your voice when you're talking about learning and development, as well as, being an early adopter with some new tech. So really excited to dive in on those two topics today. But I want to first start with learning and development. It sounds like you guys are doing some really cutting edge stuff and, have so many questions. But before we get into the nitty gritty, can you give us some background on what you've been working on the past few years and what you've learned?
Very good. I think that was a big evolution from our past. In the past, we thought that we had to be a no it all organization. And we were very inspired by Microsoft journey, especially when they shared that they moved from a know-it-all to a learn-it-all organization. So our inspiration came from their story. And for the last 3 years, we have been working to deliver on our ambition to democratize learning at Kraft Heinz. This word democratize is very, very, very important for us, okay? And we have been very intentional to move beyond mandatory training or training by nomination to training that is available regardless of the language that you speak, regardless of where you are located in the world, regardless of the time zone, or regardless where you are. You are at the airport waiting your plane to depart. Okay, those 15 minutes, you can learn something new, and we have things that go from 5 minutes, to weeks of training available. And no, the word, my strong belief, our strong belief, is not mine. The world's changing so fast, there is no longer time to handhold, to organize large boot camps and work weeks and weeks and weeks on nominations. That's not inclusive, and it's the opposite of agility. So, we have a mission of create a culture of continuous learning. So that's it, from know it all to learn it all, both creativity and intellectual curiosity. Fostering intellectual curiosity is what will move organizations faster and more consistently. If you don't make learning part of your life, you will be obsolete tomorrow. I heard from a professor, a few months back, and he said that research proves that if you don't learn anything new every day, you will be obsolete in 5 years. That's
Yeah.
scary.
Yeah, I
It's
think I
really
think we heard
scary.
something similar from Steve Cadigan, who we had on the show, I guess maybe like a year ago at this point, and he said the exact same thing, that the skills that a person learns today are going to be obsolete in 3 to 5 years. So it's like every 3 to 5 years, you got to update your skill set.
That's it. Very important. And just to continue a little bit on our journey, we wanted to provide our employees the same experience that streaming companies like a Netflix or Disney or Google have put in place. If you have a doubt about something, what you do, you Google it. It became a verb, and we wanted to be this source of knowledge for our employees. And we were very, very, very focused on making sure our people can learn, 24 hours per 7, whatever day of the week. And we had thousands and thousands of employees participating in our programs and giving us very good feedback, saying, oh, I was bored at the airport and I just, log into Kraft Heinz University. We call it University for a reason, and I found something really cool, before I board my flight. That for me, it's amazing. And when we're talking about the Netflix experience, the exactly curation of content, the suggestions for you. Oh, if you are in this function, or if you tell us that you are interested in A, B, C, D, the algorithm works to provide you suggestions aligned to what you are interested at. So that's very interesting.
And so was all of this in place before the pandemic hit?
Yes.
Oh, great.
Even before the pandemic, we had set a Clicks strategy with a focus on putting the best technology in place to drive virtual learning and development. And I'm so glad we did that. We embarked in this journey in 2017, So when the pandemic hit and everybody was panicking, oh my God, what will I do? Will I stop, all my development programs? We didn't have any hiccup. It was so easy to pivot. So I'm really, really glad that, we had put that in place.
Yes, so many companies were panicking, frantically implementing, getting Zoom technology, the conferencing technology, the online learning and development technology, but you guys were already there. So it feels like there was, probably an opportunity to not have to focus on the execution, but rather like the learnings. Did you guys discover anything about the programs that you had in place and how to improve upon those during this period of time, since they were already available to your employees?
I think what we evolved was more on the experimentation part of that, because when you were having an in-person program, there is a group work or a project work or whiteboarding that is more complicated in the virtual environment. So that was, I would say, the bigger evolution that we had to make in order for it to be, engaging. And we are a global organization. Some of our programs, we used to put people together from all over the world, because we want them to exchange experiences. That got a little bit more difficult in the virtual world because of time zone. If I cannot put someone in New Zealand and someone in the United States in the same program. But what was interesting we had a conversation with our employees and they said, no problem, keep it. We will adjust to the time zone. If it's a US time zone, I will work on a US time zone, even if I'm based on New Zealand. So that was really, really rewarding. They were so interested on that they said, we have a leadership master's program that is a program that we put in place back in 2019. It's an in-person program in partnership with Stanford. Okay, Stanford is our partner in this program. And there are some modules that we need everybody together in the room or in the virtual room. And we had a participant from Indonesia, one from Australia, one from Canada, one from from Poland, the other one from UK, and and it was beautiful, and they were awake.
That's awesome.
Yeah. So, it sounds like, managers are a big focus at Kraft Heinz. And this is actually, a theme that we've noticed quite a bit frequently or recently. And it's funny, my wife and I actually had a couple of our friends over last night for dinner. And one of our friends was telling us about how she's thinking about leaving her role in the company she's at. And she's a first time manager at like a 1,500 person startup. And she was just telling us how, the last 5, 6 months have felt so isolating for her, and how her and a lot of the other managers that are in the same boat, that are first time managers, have been dying for more coaching and more support, and how it's really hard to build the muscle of being a manager. And yeah, that's a big reason why she's leaving. And I know managers are a huge focus for Kraft Heinz, but yeah, tell us more about what you're doing for your managers.
Very good question. We are calling 2022 the year of the manager, and everybody has been talking about the Great Resignation, and the Great Resignation is happening, especially, in this level, because the managers, they have to take care of themselves, they have to take care of their teams, they have to report, to the senior levels of the organization. It's a lot of responsibility, and we strongly believe that people managers are our key to success. No, we ask a lot of our managers, and now, we are asking them to co-create what this new hybrid work reality will mean for us, what will mean for them, what will mean for Kraft Heinz. And a couple, being a chemical engineer, you have noticed that I love statistics. A couple of years ago, I came across a data that really made me gasp. A Gallup report stated that 1 out of 10 people is naturally wired to be a manager. 1 out of 10. Oh my
Wow.
God.
That's
If
lower than I
Yeah.
would have guessed.
And that lines up with what my friend was saying.
if 9 out of 10 people are not naturally wired to be a manager, and especially this time is a critical time for managers, we need to dedicate more time to listening, feedback, training. I really believe if you are a CEO or a chief people officer or an EVP, SVP, whatever, this needs to be at the top of your agenda. In our own employee focus groups, 80% of people said that they want more coaching from their leaders. And 92% of the leaders, okay, the people managers are telling us that they want to support to learn how to be a better coach. So, to action on this, we have launched a new initiative that we called Project Win. Okay, Project Win is a global effort to develop great managers at every level of the company, and it was inspired by Google's Project Oxygen. Okay, and why Project Win? Win is an acronym for work as a team, inspire excellence, and navigate our future. And our main objective is to transform our people managers in amazing coaches, from people managers to an amazing coach. When they operate with empathy, care, move with the speed and agility, and grow people to their full potential, we see the positive impacts and the halo effect in employee engagement, performance, and retention. So it's incredibly important for us. I'm so excited to see how it evolves. And this halo effect, the first, I was talking about the Leadership Masters program. The first cohort, we had 20 people. And I asked the team to do an analysis on how many people those 20 directly influenced. 627. So if I make this 20 amazing, they will influence 600 and directly influence 627 people in the organization. I said that, look, that's it. Let me put all my dollars on it.
Yeah, it feels like a no-brainer when you start looking at the numbers that way. You mentioned, statistics is something that you naturally gravitate to. And is that play a big role in the way that you look at these programs and the success of these programs? How quantitative are you in assessing what programs you should have and what you should, what future programs you should be developing?
We are very, very obsessed with data and people analytics and correlations, correlations about evolution, for example, on a 360 assessment with engagement survey, with retention. So that's the way that we assess if we are really hitting the nail or not, and moving the needle in the organization. Just to give one example.
That's perfect.
There's another thing that, as we were talking about technology and being an early adopter, and we were talking about, our journey to implement Kraft Heinz University. I have a strong opinion that, some companies, I think that they put so much money on their brick structure, or their corporate university that has a lot of buildings and everything, that is very hard for them to let it go and embrace the new, embrace the technology. That was my perception when I was visiting a lot of companies when we were creating our university. And we were very fortunate that we didn't have that. We were merging, we didn't have a big corporate university building. So that free up us to really, really double bat on technology and being an early adopter on few things. We're talking about manager as coach. In 2017, we were the first organization to partner and pilot with an organization called EZRA, EZRA. And basically I'm oversimplifying, they will hate me, but just to quickly make a point here. This is a mobile coaching app that connects our people to world-class pre-selected coaches that we pre-selected as an organization, no matter where they are. So I can be based in the United States and have a coach in France, for example. And since we began this program, more than 600 employees have been connected with an EZRA coach. And all of that started before the pandemic. And I remember people looking at me and they said, oh, that will never work. Coaching needs to be in person. Now with the pandemic, people are doing therapy.
So yeah, I was going to say, it's almost like BetterHelp, but for coaching. Is that right?
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. And so, going back to Project Win, where did the idea for this come from? Did it come from your data? Was there also leadership feedback that something like this was important? Did you look at your employee surveys? Like, where, I'm just curious, how was this formulated?
Look, based on our engagement data, results from our employees focus groups, and us analyzing and seeing, all the conversation about future to work and all the changes and everything that was going on, we realized soon that our managers, they needed help, and they told us, I want to do that, but I need help, because I needed to be a better manager. I need to be, but I also needed to do my day to day and deliver on my results. And as I mentioned, everything started with us researching what was Project Oxygen for Google, that they had a similar mission at that point in time, that was to increase manager favorability, based on their surveys and everything. And we have a very similar surveys. So that's where it will, and where it was born and why it was born. And the main indicator that we have as well, it's this manager favorability, and especially we have a category that's part of our engagement survey, that's leadership, that we wanted to evolve as well. And we have our assessments, our 360 assessments, that we wanted to see the evolution as well. So we want, all our managers to move a little bit in the curve to be better managers.
Love
Not a
it.
little bit, move a lot.
Yeah, yeah. I imagine a lot of planning went into this initiative. And we actually just had a conversation yesterday with Beth Steinberg at Chime, where we talked about how HR leaders need to have solid business plans for new initiatives. So I guess like would you humor us in walking us through how you built the business case for these targeted trainings and learning experiences for managers? Like were there any specific business drivers that you were trying to tie it to? It sounds like you had the metric around number of people influenced, but curious to hear how else you thought about that.
Let me go back a little bit where everything started. Okay, in 2019, we started to discuss what would be the new enterprise strategy. Okay, and as part of that, we started to discuss it. We had 500 employees participating in this process. What should be the company purpose, if we should review our values, what we wanted to evolve in our culture, what should be our leadership principles. Being a global organization, what was happening? We would have a leadership model in Japan, a leadership model in Canada, and they were somehow aligned. Yes, but we said, look, we have to have a strong voice on that. That's where it started. So the same moment that we released our enterprise strategy, we released our new vision, our new purpose, our new values, and our new leadership principles. And our leadership principles, they are, we call them WIN, and they are based on the letters, the acronym. It's exactly what I told you before. And we were very inspired again by Microsoft on their journey on leadership development. Okay, and we had multiple conversations with them, and we were inspired by them, by the way that they did this evolution. The metrics, to see, look, are we evolving or we are not? As I mentioned, I think we have three very important metrics. One is the leadership category in the engagement survey, okay? But not only that, I would say collaboration, empowerment, and the communication are very linked to leadership as well. So it's an indicator that we look in our engagement survey, okay? Retention is another one, everybody says it, and I agree. That the employees not necessarily they leave companies, they leave their managers. So retention is another very important indicator for us. In these special groups, and the evolution on the leadership principles assessment. Now that gives us the manager favorability. So those are the three main indicators that we use, to see if we are evolving or not, and how we are evolving.
So remind me, how many employees are at Kraft Heinz?
36,000.
Oh my gosh, 36,000. Okay.
Wow.
Yeah, like I
It
feel
was
like
wild. It's a
yeah, that's
journey.
wild. I imagine it's
It's
really
wild.
hard to, really affect change and drive change throughout an organization that large, when you're rolling out a new vision, new values, new leadership principles. It sounds like you're on the right track with Project Win. Aside from Project Win, are there any other uh, tools or partners that you're working with that you're really excited about that are going to help you, uh, roll out, or I guess change behaviors and get people to start living out the values that you have?
We are very excited about the partnership that we have for Project Wayne. We were talking about leveraging technology and partnering with the startups, to make our ambitions a reality. We have partnered with Humu, to be one of the first Fortune 150 companies to pilot a really exciting technology solution with them, and this technology provides personalized coaching moments on the go that meet our managers where they are, and it's very linked to the principles that we put in place in Project Win. And what's cool, I was talking about democratizing learning. That's it. We're talking about simple nudges on the go, that are linked to what is important for you, or what you have to evolve, or what strength you were trying to reinforce, or what gap you have to close. And let me share a personal example. I was on a meeting with my team, my direct reports, on Microsoft Teams. Okay. And then suddenly a nudge popped up on my screen in the middle of the meeting, and I read it because it's short, so you can read it very fast when while you are in the middle of a meeting. And I said, I will apply that right now, and I applied the nudge during the meeting. That's agility, that is reaching you at the moment that you need, where you need, with what you need, and I applied it right away, and the feedback was amazing. The team said, why are you asking that? And I said, I just received a nudge from Momo, and they were very excited with that.
So, disclaimer for everybody listening, I work at Humu and I also receive nudges. And I've noticed that it gets into my subconscious. Like I'll see a nudge, I might not even click anything on the nudge, but then days later I'll be in a meeting and I'll find myself approaching the meeting slightly differently, or approaching the interaction I'm having slightly differently. And I'm like, why am I doing this? And I'm like, oh, wait, I think I read this nudge the other day where it recommended that I try this instead of that. So yeah, I feel like it really gets into your subconscious, but I feel like on the surface, when you talk about nudges, it can just sound like notifications. So I'm curious, what was the initial uh, reception from the rest of the leadership team whenever you brought this up as an idea?
In the beginning, they were a little skeptical, but they embraced it. We were so passionate about that. And I think we have planted the seed on democratizing learning in the past. We created a movement in the company that's called Learn Like an Owner. In the beginning, we had one employee in the movement. That was our chief learning officer. She started the movement and she was the lone wolf. And then a month later, she had a follower, 6 months later, we had 300, now we have close to 2,000 people that made a commitment as part of the Learn Like an Owner movement, So I think we plant the seeds in the past. And I use this word, I use on the go, democratize, simple, uh, reminders, because you go to a big learning program, the forgetting curve is something that is there, it's proven. If you don't use this muscle, you will forget it. So the nudge is that you start to forget it, then a nudge comes and you said, oh my God, it's what you said, it's in your conscience. Then you go and you apply that. And if it works, you just get encouraged to do more. We are in week 5 of the project, of the partnership with Homo. And the early indicators are amazing, 86% adoption. That is awesome. We have 1,500 people participating on this that we are calling a pilot. It's a big pilot with 1,500 people, and we had 86% adoption.
Amazing.
It's really an amazing indicator.
Amazing.
Sorry, were you gonna go, Steven?
No, go ahead.
Oh no, I was just gonna say I feel like it takes a very like specific personality to be an early adopter with new tech tools. Like you definitely have to be a risk taker. You're the global chief people officer and you're putting your name on this thing. Where does that come from? Have you always been a risk taker?
Look, I think you need to be a forward looking, otherwise you will just live in the past and the glory in the past. And I think early adopters, they have a lot of advantages to be an early adopter. You just need to be responsible. Will you do that to 36,000 people in all countries you operate? No, you go, you test, it work, you roll out. It doesn't work, you stop it. It's the concept of fail fast and cheap that everybody wants to advertise. But yes, it's take courage, because sometimes it's not even glamorous. You're having a pilot that only few people know about it, and you just need to be persistent. I am very persistent. I am. If I believe on something, I believe on something, and I will go and of course, if it doesn't work. If people prove me wrong, I give up. But I like to try. I'm a learner by essence. I like to try new things. I feel energized by those new things, and we always learn. Even if it fails, you learn a lot on this experience.
Yeah, and I love you mentioned earlier, learn like an owner. I can't recall if this was like a mantra within the HR team or just at the company in general.
It's a program. It's a program that we have.
Well, and this is great because you're teaching the entrepreneurial spirit within your employees, and that it's a completely different perspective to learn like an owner, operate like you are. You are you truly are part owner of the business, and I think it's a very powerful thing, and I think it goes. Your successes, a lot of your successes have to come back to some of these programs that you have in place, because it takes courage to invest in these new types of programs or these different types of programs. If you follow the trends, many times you don't get the results that you're looking for, the truly transformative, the truly innovative results. But when everyone is bringing the entrepreneurial spirit, and part of that is being comfortable failing, and this whole notion of failing fast, it's just a powerful thing when you can get that, that can become part of your culture at scale.
Yes, and that's what we are amplifying the organization.
And so my before we're getting close on time, which it is always a shame, we only have an hour to have these conversations, but my last question for you is, I've heard a mix throughout this this discussion of targeted programs built for scale. You're trying new technologies. There are a lot of initiatives, it feels like, that you guys have been going on. Many of these have been going on for years, right? You're deploying them now, but you've been working on these for years. And I know small companies, very small companies, that one of these initiatives would be way too much for them to complete in a quarter. And it seems like there are multiple programs that you guys are rolling out. And, one of the, I guess, challenges I feel like we have as people leaders is scaling HR, scaling our people programs. And, you mentioned probably one a technique or approach you take, which is the fail fast. I'm just curious, what is it about the Kraft Heinz HR or people functions culture that is, that is driving this ability to scale so many programs throughout such a large organization, when one of these would be a huge win for smaller companies?
I think first is curiosity. Our teams, they want to be the best version of themselves, and they want to leave their footprint to the company. They are ambitious people. They are passionate people, and we talk a lot about that. And we say, look, life is too short just for you to come, work, do what's expected from you, and going back home. Life is too short for you not to leave something behind. And there is a question that I ask to everyone in the team: what's your legacy? What's your legacy? What's your legacy? So I think it's just this passion to leave a legacy to the new generations that come. It's not all roses, of course. Sometimes the team said, look, it's too much. We have to prioritize, we have to drop something because it's just too much. And that's the moment that we have to, as a HR leadership team, stop, talk to the teams, reprioritize, and go. But I think that that's the spirit that we are trying to build here.
I feel like that's a spirit that I should live my life.
I
with,
was about to
What's my
say,
legacy?
I have this daily reminder that I read every day, and it's time is short and it doesn't return again. It is slipping away while I write this and while you read it. And the monosyllable of the clock is lost, 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 unless you devote your heart to its opposition. And that's all I could think about whenever you were saying that, Melissa.
Please share that with me.
Okay, I will. It's from The Catastrophe of Success. So this guy, Tennessee Williams, who I think was like playwright or something, also wrote some movies. He wrote this like in the 30s or 40s or something like that.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
That's it.
All right, so we have 9 minutes left, and we're going to segue into the rapid fire questions. So these are a set of questions that we ask every one of our guests. So we'll try to knock them out as fast as we can. If you could go back in time and talk to a 22-year-old Melissa, what career advice would you give yourself and why?
Think a little bit of what we were talking before. What brought you here won't take you to the future.
Mhm.
Learn from the past, but be always looking ahead. Historical success is not a synonym of future success.
If you could fix any HR or people problem with a magic wand, what would it be and why?
Business acumen. HR still makes a lot of decisions in isolation. I still see very few HR professionals that are able to articulate and explain the company strategy.
Love it. When you look forward to 2023, even past that, what do you see coming next for the future of work?
I'll go back to learning. The world is changing really fast, and the ability to unlearn and learn something new every day needs to be there. You need to be humble. You needed to be humble at the point to say, let me throw in the trash can everything that I know and let me start from ground zero again. The view on talent has changed. Experience, knowledge, and skills continue to be important, but curiosity and learning agility became more important.
Preach. I agree with that 100%.
Plus one. The
yeah.
older I get, the more I realize the less I know.
Yeah.
That's a very cliche thing to
the more you know,
like
the less
say.
you know. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, and that's the danger on that. If you think that you know too much and you start making decisions based on your past knowledge and stop learning, you will live in the past.
Yeah. Well, and I feel like in today's world, it's hard to stay in a space of humility. It really is, and especially with how access to information and all the things that, that technology advancement, but for me, I often find myself needing to come back to humility and being humble that, there is a lot that I still have to learn. So, well, I feel like we could continue this conversation, but it's time to bring it to an official close. We have a couple questions before we wrap it up. The way that we have brought so many amazing guests to the Modern People Leader, and we have had almost 70 great conversations, is been primarily through the guests that we've had. And so if there was one person that you feel we should bring onto the show, that we must have on this show, who would you recommend that person is?
Oh my God, so many people. But as I mentioned, that was a source of inspiration for me and for us, Kathleen Hogan, the Chief People Officer of Microsoft.
That would be amazing.
The journey that they went through, it's amazing. It's an amazing story.
And to know that a company like Kraft Heinz was inspired so much by the journey they've been on, that I would love to hear that story. So the last tradition we have on the Modern People Leader is what we call one word or one phrase close. And we all respond with something from the episode that we want to close and end the show with. So who wants to kick us off?
I was first last time. Now I'm last.
Yeah, I can go. I had a big smile on my face because Steven says that I always like to jump in first to steal the best thing to say. I always try to jot down notes during the conversation. And what I have highlighted today is learn how to unlearn.
Ooh, that is good. And I'm going to stick with mine because it's similar but different. And mine is learn like an owner. I love that.
Mine is curiosity.
Right. I love it. I love it. Well, Melissa, this has been an amazing conversation. Thank you so much for carving out time out of your very busy schedule to meet with us. It really was a pleasure to have you.
Thanks for having me. It was a pleasure talking to you. We could go on and on and on and on.
We could. And maybe we can have you back we do every now and then we do group discussions, and maybe we could have you back to have another chat with us.
Happy to.
Excellent.
Talk to you later.
All right. Bye, guys.